Welcome to Game of Books with Cathi in South Dakota.
That's me, and Christie in South Florida.
That's me. We're two newbie writers sharing our take on wine, food, and mystery books.
And the authors who write them. Join us for the fun.
Welcome to the Game of Books podcast, Corks in Conversation with Nina Sadowsky.
Last week, we featured Nina's book, The Empty Bed, on our book club episode, and we loved this thriller, and now we're thrilled to talk with Nina herself.
Yes, Nina Sadowsky is an author, filmmaker, and educator. She has written numerous screenplays and produced such films as The Wedding Planner, which we all love. Her debut thriller, Just Fall, was published in 2016, and her Burial Society series launched in 2018 with a second book in the series, The Empty Bed, published on January 28th, 2020. The Burial Society series is in development for television. She is also the author of Convince Me, to be published August 4th, 2020. In addition to her role as a program director of NYU Los Angeles's semester abroad program for advanced students considering careers in entertainment and media industries, Sadowsky also serves as the Director of Educational Outreach for the Humanitas Prize, is on the Leadership Council of Creative Future, and is a founding member of the Wolf Pack, an organization of women showrunners, writers, and producers committed to community and mentorship. Whew, that's a big bunch of stuff. And Nina, we're so happy you're available to talk to us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I was delighted to be asked.
Well, good. Well, before we get started with too many, of the big questions, Cathi, why don't you tell everybody what wine we're drinking today?
I would be happy to. So Nina is from California and suggested a Pinot. So, of course, we chose a California wine, the Mirassou Pinot Noir. What's interesting about this is this winemaker, Mirassou, takes special pride in the fact that they were the first winemakers to bring this variety to America, which I was really surprised to read about. Yeah, that's
cool.
Yeah, so tasting notes. So it opens with notes of ripe red and black cherry, lush layers of fresh raspberry, strawberry jam, and pomegranate, balanced with hints of oak and vanilla. Light-bodied and bright, it's rich in heritage, and, here's our tagline, it's easy drinking deliciousness.
Oh, okay. I think I'll be the judge of that. Let me have a sip and I'll
Okay, take a drink and let us know.
Yes, I believe that was easy drinking deliciousness.
So I will say, this is perfect for our conversation today with Nina, because Mirassou says that they rely on determination, optimism, and a love of craftsmanship in their winemaking, and it sure sounds like what a writer would have to do as well. So,
very good connection there, Cathi.
Thank you.
All right, so we get started on some questions. Are you ready, Nina?
I am ready.
Okay. So, as we've just mentioned, you've had an amazing career in TV and film industry, and you started as an entertainment lawyer and then took on producing, directing, and screenwriting. So we're thinking, obviously, you're busy and you had multiple ways to tell your stories from your imagination, but what made you decide to add novel writing to this list, and how in the world did you do it?
Okay, so I'll be really candid about this. I started my first novel, Just Fall, out of a very low place for two reasons. One was professional, and that was after years of being a pretty successful first lawyer, then executive, then creative in film and TV. I felt increasingly marginalized. I felt increasingly too old and too female to be in the room.
Oh, wow.
As a result of that, and it is an ageist, sexist industry, as a result of that, I really began to lose my love of craft. And that was sort of making me sick, because I love writing. Even when I've worked not as a writer professionally, I've always written as a way of processing my feelings about the world and myself and other people. And so the fact that I was starting to hate writing because I felt so depressed about being overlooked or marginalized was really hurting me. And so writing a book had always been on my bucket list. And when I started, I said, all right, I'm just going to commit every Sunday to working on a book. And I have no expectations. It's just for me. It's for me to reclaim my love of writing. And I didn't even tell people I was working on it because I didn't want people saying, oh, how's that novel coming? And me having no answer, right?
Yeah, that is a very good idea.
So I just kept it completely private. And then when I had a draft, I mentioned it to a few friends and they were like, you wrote a book. When did you do that? And I said, well, it took me 18 months, which it did, the first one, 18 months just working on Sundays and occasionally when I had a little slice of inspiration. But, and so when I did finish, and the other thing that was actually happening to me at that time was that I had just gotten remarried and had blended a family, and that was not going so well. And what I had thought was going to be this beautiful fairy tale second chance felt very fraught because of the anger in particular of one of my stepkids. And so that first book, which is about a woman who discovers on the night of her wedding that her husband's a contract killer, and she's told she has to go to the Caribbean and kill someone in order to save his life, is, of course, not about me at all, but also entirely about me.
I was just going to say,
So there I was feeling like fragile in my marriage and fragile in my career, and writing has always been the thing that made me feel strong, and so I just wrote this book. And then when I was done, I gave it to a few friends, and quite honestly, I was astonished by the response. People said, you need to get a literary agent, made some introductions, and within 3 weeks, my agent sold it. I had an agent, and she sold it at auction to Random House.
Wow, so that's awesome.
I knock wood all the time. I've been at a lot of conferences where people, say I had 72 rejections before I published. And I had a book rejected. So,
well, there you go.
People hate me.
Yeah.
That's okay. We'll take that.
Yeah.
Okay, so after that happened and you started on your Burial Society series, did you switch kind of full time and start allowing yourself to write during the weekdays on your novel?
Well, yes. I mean, at the time after I sold Just Fall, I worked on adapting it for television. I sold it to Stars. It didn't get on the air, but I got to write the pilot. And I was still teaching then at USC. I've been an educator for the last 12 years. That's been a part of my life as well. I did 10 years at USC in the film school there. And now, as you said in my bio, I run NYU Los Angeles. So I was still doing the educational part of my life, and I was adapting the pilot. But now I had a contract for a book with dates. Right, and checks attached. It wasn't speculative, When I delivered, got money. Money is always a good inducement, money and investment. So it took me about 8 months to write the Burial Society. It took me about 6 to do The Empty Bed, and my new one, I did a draft in 4.5 months. Wow. And I think it's just because I'm getting that's a whole other story, because that book came into my head like an arrow that I felt I had to pull out of my head until it was in the computer. But I think it's also just that I've gotten much better at craft and the craft of writing novels. When I wrote the first one, I had written a lot of television and feature screenplays, but I had no idea how to write a book. And I was a big reader, so I knew what books I liked and which authors I admired, but I really didn't know what I was doing. Now I have a better idea. So
it's true. It's a learning process.
Absolutely. It's like that, from Malcolm Gladwell's book, The 10,000 Hours It Takes to Achieve Mastery in Anything, right? So I just keep writing and I get better at it, I think. But
yes. We've read The Empty Bed and we thought that was really good. So that was the second book, right? Or no, third. So it was the second in the Burial Society.
The second in the Burial Society series. And that actually, this is sort of a funny story. As you know, a wife is surprised with a trip to Hong Kong and that book and goes missing. And that same husband that inspired the first marriage, the first book, when the marriage was new and the son was acting out, was also inspired by him because for our 5th anniversary, he told me he was taking me to San Francisco and wine country for 10 days. And I thought, well, that's a lot of time to be drinking. Like a good, vacation in the mouth. So, but when we were on our way to the airport, we're in the Uber, and he says, well, we are going to San Francisco, but after that I lied. We're getting on a plane and we're going to Hong Kong and Tokyo.
Oh, no.
Oh, my gosh.
And he had my passport, and I said, I don't have the right clothes. And he said the absolute right thing, which was, we'll go shopping. And
the only correct answer.
Yeah, always the correct answer. And so I got to San Francisco, and I called my editor, and I said, oh, husband takes wife to Hong Kong on surprise anniversary trip. Wife goes missing. And she was like, go, write it, go. That was the origin of that book.
Oh my gosh, that's so incredible. So Hong Kong was a lot of fun. I mean, we kind of get to live a little bit of it through your book, but sounds
I
like
loved Hong Kong. I loved it. It's a city on steroids. It's consumerism, it's capitalism squared. You can be in one mall that has 3 Pradas in it. We found one mall that had an entire floor devoted to designer children's wear,
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it is crazy. It's a big financial center, and, like a lot of big cities, big dichotomy between rich and poor, but it's visually stunning, and there's a neon light show every night across the harbor. I mean, it's really a spectacular, dazzling place, and I wanted to capture a little of that. I was only there for a few days, so I have a friend who married a man who had lived there for 10 years and now lives in LA. So I also interviewed him extensively to get more of a flavor, particularly about sort of the underworld in Hong Kong, because he had worked in the restaurant business, and which had taken him into contact with the triad. So I did a lot of research about how they actually operate and the rivalries and all of that to inform what you see in the book.
Wow, that was going to be one of our questions, like how did you research it? And you just answered it perfectly. I was like, wow.
She lived it. She lived it. This is a great time for us to segue into what we call our question in a bottle. So these are the sort of, we kind of do this midway, and these are the sort of questions that might come up when you get towards the bottom of a bottle. So we'll pick a random question.
Okay, so let's see. What do we get here? Okay. Oh, this is a good one. If you could have one magical power, what would it be?
Oh, I'd want to clone myself so I could get more done.
That's a good one.
There's not enough time in the day. If there was more of me, I could do more. That would be the perfect thing. I'd probably want to reunite into one body at the end of the day, but if I could have like 4 of me, that would be good.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure that's a doable magical power.
That is both a great answer, but also very telling about your life. Like you have a lot going on.
I'm wondering right now, I'm trying to remember, like on one of the old Bewitched shows, if she ever did that. I think she did, didn't she?
Yeah.
Like she would.
I think she did too. I kind of remember that.
Yeah. Either that or it was like a twin or something. I don't know, but that's pretty funny. All right. So, Cathi and I are actually at the querying stage of our first novels, and we're about to be, and we're always told, like you said, rejection. Well, obviously you didn't have to deal with that in your book career, but I'm assuming you had to deal with it a lot in film and TV.
Oh, in film and TV, you get told no 10 times before breakfast. I mean, it's just like, and I think that's why, like, I find my whole publishing journey so astonishing is that for every victory I've had in film and TV, there have been 1,000 doors slammed in my face first. So I've really learned over the years a couple of things. One, not to personalize it. there's so many unforeseen factors that are impacting. Well, I'll talk about it from a film perspective. I used to feel heartbroken if the script I took in as a producer or as a writer didn't sell, right? If I took it out to market and it didn't sell. But then I realized and I would know the material was good. So but we don't live in a meritocracy. So there are so many other factors that impact, and they are like where the company is in its budget cycle, what else they already have on their slate, or in a publishing house, what do they already have in their system? What market trends are people being reactive to at the time? Who made the phone call introducing your material? Is it someone that they respect or not? In film or TV, do they have deals that they already have where they have overall deals that they need to service, right? Again, in film and TV, is it too expensive to make this as a horror movie, which should be a low budget proposition, right? So there are economic and creative and relationship factors that are all operating underneath the surface, right? That you have no idea about. And I think so much of it is just random luck. For example, my agent, who just left the business and sold her company, which was sort of heartbreaking for me, but my book agent, she had someone at Valentine, which is my imprint, that she usually brought books to when she took out my first book, but that person was on vacation. So she took it to another editor there, who she didn't know. And that was the editor who, fought the hardest for it and won it at auction. Right now, if she had brought it to her usual person, would I have gotten the same result? I don't know, because voice is such a particular thing, right?
Right.
Whether someone responds to your voice. So I think that, what I say all the time when I teach writing, is that you need talent and you need craft. You need luck and you need discipline, and you can't control the luck, but you can control, you can't really control whether you have talent, but you can control your craft and you can control your discipline. And I think actually the discipline is probably the most important element, because if you don't have something written, you have nothing to sell.
Right. Yeah, that's a hard road, though. I mean, I can't imagine. We must have very strong convictions to put up with all the rejection, and to understand all those, ins and outs. I mean, that would break most people, if you had.
Well, I mean, I think it's this. I think by having the information, by understanding more of the system, it took some of the personal rejection out of it. Right? It made me realize that I don't have to take this personally. It's not about me. I mean, think about actors, for example. They're sized up the minute they walk in a room and rejected, right? And it's sometimes because they just don't have the right look, or they're not the ethnicity they want, or they're not the right age, right? And it can be so many different things. A vibe, right? It can be so many different things. And that's a rejection of your very self,
Right.
I mean, I do believe that writing is an expression of your very self, but it's not someone like looking at your face and going, no, right? So
Right.
you do have a...
That would make this worse, I think.
You have a slight remove, but, I think it's actually helpful. I was actually at this writing conference recently teaching there, and there was a keynote speaker whose name I'm going to blank on, but he said the most profound piece of writing advice I've ever heard, which was that your editor or any other one else who's reading for you is the patient, but you, the author, are the doctor. You have to actually listen to where they're saying the owie is, diagnose the problem, and figure out how to treat it. And I thought that was so great, because it, one thing I always try to talk about, and I've really struggled with myself, and I think every writer struggles with this, is how not to be reactive to notes. Someone says, I don't like this, and maybe, I think you should do that. And you go, okay, I'll go try that. Instead of saying, well, what are they really saying? Maybe their idea is not the right idea. Maybe I should see if there's something underneath what they're saying, or maybe their solution is not the right solution. And how do I not be reactive? How do I not feel both, well, this person is smarter than me, that's why I gave them this to read in the first place, so I should listen to them, right? But that balance of trusting your gut and trusting the information that you're getting from readers.
Right. That's a hard thing. Yeah.
No, I think that's the hardest thing about writing, actually. For me, it's the hardest thing about writing.
Okay, so I'm going to segue, because after you do all the writing, right, and you've done the craft, you've used your discipline, and you you get the lucky spot where you get the book out. Then comes the marketing. And I'm intrigued because I had read, I guess on Jane Friedman's website, you had done an interview about marketing. And I had noticed on your website that you have a launch team for your books. And I just was fascinated by this topic because I've just heard of this in one other situation, one other writer doing this. So can you tell us a little bit about your approach to marketing and your launch team?
Yeah, well, I think one thing that most people don't know, and I certainly did not know before I got into publishing books, was how much of the marketing is on the author. So I've tried all different kinds of things, some of which I spoke about. I mean, the thing I did for Jane, the Q&A I did for Jane was more about pre-orders specifically. But for example, I got a friend from high school to donate a trip with the Burial Society to Paris and one for the empty bed to London. He runs an online travel company, right? So this is, the power of high school friendship, right? He donated trips for both of these. As a result, I just got the results of the one we did for Empty Bed today. We gave away a trip to London. That just closed on Thursday.
Oh, darn. I was going to say, I got to put in for that.
18,500 people.
Wow.
Oh, my.
So that's a lot of eyes looking at my book cover, right? And almost 3,000 of them signed up for my monthly newsletter.
Great.
Which grew my newsletter, by a big chunk, which is, part of my goal. I have, I do a monthly, it's called Dispatches from the Cheerfully Dark Mind of Nina Sadowsky, because I write really dark things so that I'm a very cheerful person. And, it has several components. I do recommended viewing and a section called Ripped from the Headlines, which is just the weird news that amuses me. And I've always done Hollywood Decoded, where I've answered questions about Hollywood. But I'm also adding a new tutorial where I'm going to be giving sort of mini writing tips and seminars through the newsletter. And I'm trying to grow that partly because I feel that having taught for 10 years has really codified my own beliefs and understandings about my own process, because I have to teach other people how to do it. So I have a lot of systems now and a lot of, and I've not just taught at USC, but at, novel writing conferences all over the country. And so I want to share that knowledge, and also because I really believe in the power of literary citizenship, right? It's a beautiful thing in the world of books. In Hollywood, writers are taught to be in competition with each other, but book writers lift each other up, because if someone reads your book, it doesn't mean they're not going to read someone else's book, right?
Right.
People who read books read tons of books, right? And then there are the people who read one book a year. But the book buying audience is hungry for books. And so I love how communal and how much support there is, how people, for me and I have for them, have, read drafts or written quotes, supporting blurbs or whatever. Have invited each other to sit on panels or be part of book launches. And, I think it's a really beautiful thing about the literary community. And it's because I do feel I have something valuable to offer, like my tricks of math for writers. That's a tease.
Oh,
yeah.
Because I hate math. But so, I feel like so I'm just starting this, and that's going to launch, along with a brand new website, in the next couple of weeks.
Wow. Ooh, that's exciting.
Well, we'll definitely put the links on our website for that.
Oh, cool.
For sure.
Send you the information.
But that takes a lot of work. I mean, what you're describing that's another big piece of this puzzle.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about the marketing. There were so many things I've done. I've designed swag and distributed it. The most popular thing was lens cleaners I did with the book cover.
Yes, I have one of those. I got it at Thriller Fest. Yes, I did.
Oh, there you go. Okay, right. So
I love it.
Inexpensive to produce, something that people look at. I went to a Thriller Fest marketing meeting for writers, and they said that it takes 7 to 10 impressions to create awareness, convert that to interest, and interest to a sale.
Wow.
So that's when I began to think, what could I put the image on that people would see all the time, right? And it's the same reason you want to have, like it's the same principle sort of with social media, that you can, tweet something out 5-10 times, because different sets of eyes are just scrolling past it. What you want to just have is that image, right? Again and again. So, I was thinking, as a content creator, you want to keep it fresh, but as a marketer, you want to keep it consistent, right?
Right.
I've done a short story contest. I'm going to do another one of those. This was really fun. I did this with Burial Society, and people submitted 500 sort of flash word contests. But the subject was secrets, and I'm going to do one for Convince Me. The subject is going to be liars and lying.
Oh, cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
and then
so great.
I've also had to create a lot of social media posts, cards and content and lists to put out there. It got to the point this year where I hired a company that helped me organize some of that. They've been helping me with the redesign of the website, with learning how to bank social media, so I can pick a day and jam out 6 weeks worth of stuff, bank it and schedule it, and then
that's
take
great.
it off
Yeah.
So I've had to start. I'm a very time efficient person, and I think that comes from being a producer, where time is literally money all the time. But I think that I had to sort of start treating Nina Sadowsky more as a business this year, because the Empty Bed and the Burial Society are in development for television, and so I'm breaking the season for that.
Are you are you writing the screenplays for that? Or, oh, wow, that's great.
I am, yeah.
But that's why you need a clone.
Yeah, this is why I need a clone. I also have an original pilot that I just turned in, which is called Green Rush, and is about what's happening in Humboldt County, California, because of legalization of marijuana, which is
that should be interesting.
I say it's Dallas with weed instead of oil, and it's mercenary.
That's a good.
I can't wait.
pitch. That's a good pitch. Oh, awesome.
A lot of fun projects, but all in the wheelhouse that I'm interested in, which is the world of moral ambiguity, and where our personal moral lines are crossed, and where society's lines are getting pushed. These are the things that I'm really interested in questioning. I think it's a hard time to be a moral person in America.
I agree, and I think it is a good thing to be putting out there. It's what you can do with art. You can kind of get the word out, even.
I totally believe that. I really, I had this great thing happen where Just Fall was translated into all kinds of crazy languages, including Turkish and Serbian. And I got through Instagram, a DM from a Turkish high school teacher who was using it to teach her students about looking past appearances when they were getting into relationships. I was like, that's something I never would have envisioned, right? That, in a high school in Turkey, this is happening, right?
That must have felt so good.
Yeah, totally. And the Empty Bed and Burial Society all came about because I'm just so frustrated and angry about how much wrong I see in the world, and how much I see people hurting each other. And, I march and petition, marching in protest and sign petitions, but I created this character because I wanted someone who would go out there and fix things and help people, and just in that way control the world and make it a better place than the world we're currently living in now, where there seems to be so much callous cruelty.
Right.
We all want to be Catherine on some days.
Right. I do think that we all want to be Catherine.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Today I want to be Catherine.
That's Avatar.
I love it. Well, Nina, we have been we've so enjoyed this conversation, and we're both, I'm sure, so inspired by it.
Yes,
I
definitely.
hope so.
Yes.
As I said up top, I'm a big goofball, and my secret is that I don't ever stop working. Just ask my husband.
Well, I'm glad you have that energy. But before we go, we have one final question that we like to it appeases our mysterious foodies out there. That's our listeners. So we asked this of our authors. Which of your characters would you like to share a meal with, and what would it be?
Well, Catherine is me, so that would be like eating alone. So, but I think maybe Forrest Holcomb, Catherine's sometimes lover.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He's a self-made man. He came up rough in the streets of London. He's, hugely successful, also morally questionable. But he knows about a lot of things that I don't know about tech and finance and, sort of power brokering and government. And so I would like to pick his brains. And since I created him, he'd have to let me.
Yes.
Yes, he would. All right. So, Nina, you've mentioned your newsletter. Can you tell our readers what's the best way to get information about you and your books?
You can go to my website, which is ninasadowsky.com. I had the website before they told me that I should lose my middle initial because my editor thought it was pretentious. So the last thing I am is pretentious, so there goes the car. But if you just Google Nina Sadowsky, the first thing that will come up should be my website. And there is a sign-in for the newsletter there. And as I said, it's going to launch with this new design and this new educational component, which I think is actually, it's pulled from my work in film and TV, but it's actually valuable techniques for every writer, no matter what medium you're working in or what genre. It's about looking at things like character or structure or how to deliver subtext. Some of it's very granular and some of it is bigger picture.
That sounds great. So thank you again, Nina. And if
Are
you haven't...
either of you going to Thriller Fest in July?
We're thinking about it. I think, Cathi, you might have something going on at the same time.
I do. I've gone the last 2 years in a row, and it has been a wonderful experience. I've learned so much, but I have a conflict this year.
But I would like to go. My son is actually back up in New York, living up in New York for a period of time. So he actually went to NYU Film, and he's our sound editor. Yeah, he was NYU Film, and he's my sound editor because I'm making him do that. But he writes and directs stuff, so he's trying to get
cool.
Yeah, but as you know, it's a hard business.
It's a hard road. Yeah, it's a hard road.
So in the meantime, I make him do my editing.
Well, yeah, my daughter. When she's an aspiring novelist now, supporting herself as a social media specialist. God love her. A job that didn't exist when I was her age. But, she also was working for me. She was helping me get out my newsletter and,
It's
and
perfect,
actually,
right?
Yeah. And I love that she also wanted to, right? Because she was like, if you're giving me money, which I was then, now I'm not. She was like, you're giving me money, I want to deliver a service. I was like, all right, I respect that.
I know. And it's fun because they want us to do well too. So they got us on their side.
It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, I love that.
Yep.
All right. Well, very nice chatting with you guys. Thanks so much.
Yeah, it's been great.
Thank you.
And
a fun conversation. Yeah, thank you. Likewise.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers. Thanks to our mysterious foodies out there for listening and sharing. Check out our website, gameofbookspodcast.com, where you can find links to all we talk about. And if you subscribe to our weekly newsletter, you can get those links sent directly to you, along with any exciting updates. We are also on Facebook and Twitter under @GOBWriters.
And if you enjoyed this episode as much as we did, we would love to hear from you, and please subscribe to Game of Books wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss any of our book club ideas and Corks and Conversations with award-winning and best-selling authors.
That's all for today's episode of Game of Books Podcast, where we share food, wine, and mystery every Friday morning, just in time for the weekend.
This is Christy
and Cathi
saying thanks for listening.
Bye,
everybody.